Welcome to The Curiosity Solution. I'm your host, Beverly Beal. Join us as we explore the science of curiosity, share stories of people who've used curiosity to improve their lives, and maybe inspire some aha moments along the way. Welcome to The Curiosity Solution. Today is a wonderful opportunity to really compare notes with Margaret Solorio. She is the owner of the website deliciousEase.com, and she is the author of a book called Make Ease Your Vibe. I'm really so excited to talk with her because we both do a lot of space clearing and making sure that your environment, your home, is as optimized for you as possible. We're just coming at it from a couple of different lenses. So with no further ado, Margaret, wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here and to speak with you. Like you said, I get lots of questions about Feng Shui and I have not studied it. So I have no doubt I will learn as much just being here.
Well, wonderful. So the first thing I want to find out is, because this is all about curiosity, what really motivated you to start looking at, how space clearing was something important for you in your life?
Yeah, I love curiosity. I'm a trained scientist is my background. I studied biotechnology, and so experimenting is always welcome and kind of methodology in my life. But for me, it was just kind of unfolding. So we moved around a lot when I was a kid, and I think I didn't realize that the space really impacted me, and I could always feel differently and seeing lots of spaces and living in lots of spaces, but I didn't really realize that was a thing. Through my personal development journey, since COVID, I became an Angel Reiki Master, excuse me, and worked with people. And then the universe, the angels, however you want to think of that, kept bringing in things about homes. I would hear podcasts, I would see things, and so I just sat down one day and kind of asked my guides. I was like, what gives? Really like houses. Here's what I was trained in. How do I take what I've learned and apply it there? Because that would be cool, but I got no clue. And they kind of gave me a download of how I could use this idea of like the major energy centers, the chakras, and apply that to spaces and the symbolism that I see when I connect, and use that in helping clearings and my work with angels. So that's where I came into getting to enjoy spaces, and it's kind of just grown from there.
It is, so I didn't move at all as a child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I grew up in Kansas on a farm, and there were at one point in time 800 acres that I could wander around.
Oh, now I'm just jealous.
Those were on a tractor or the back of a horse. But it was always interesting, when I'd go over to other people's homes and how different they felt. I still remember as an 8-year-old going over to the lady who was volunteering as the knitting instructor for 4-H. And I was so uncomfortable in that home. She was a completely different person when her husband was there and when he wasn't there. And it actually, for the longest time, ruined my desire to try to knit because I associated with that experience. I took one lesson there and I told my mom I never wanted to go back there again. Later on, I found out that, I didn't really find out, but found that he was not a nice person. And I think he was just a very verbally abusive man to her because, but that was the energy that I felt in the home. Have you had those experiences where you're going into somebody's home or just even tuning in with them remotely? Because I see that you do remote space clearings.
I actually do only remote now. And I think it really helps me. It relieves some pressure from my clients because it's not about cleaning up and having everything perfect. It's really addressing the energy in the space. But also, like you were saying, it kind of, for me, it tunes out all those social triggers and cues of ways you're supposed to speak or ways you're supposed to act or what to worry about or where you're the position, like all that kind of fades away and I can really focus in. I work with blueprints and I can then tune in remotely and go room by room.
I do that as well. I like having the blueprints. A lot of my clients don't have that though. So
Yeah,
that's where
then
it's
it's hand
helpful.
drawn.
Yeah. That's where for me it's been helpful to be able to go into the spaces. But then again, I'm also incorporating feng shui. And so I've got the
Yes.
9 sectors that each sector is corresponding with a different aspect of their life. So I can say, all right, I see where your clutter is happening. Well, that's this particular sector. Let's talk about how life is working in, whether it's your relationships or is it your money, is it, are you struggling to get that job search going? Is there something happening in your skills and knowledge sector? So those are that's the lens that I'm coming at it. But for you, Kay Margaret, one of the things I loved is you referenced COVID being a turning point for you. Say some more about that.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, I think for a lot of us, COVID kind of changed the way we look at the world or changed the way we look at ourselves. But for me, it really, before COVID, just felt like I was running a marathon every day. And I would wake up and I would imagine putting armor on and it was kind of me against time. Like, okay, here we go. How many things can I get done in the amount of time I have? And keep my family going. Like I'm already feeling shortness of breath. Keep everybody going and everybody happy. It was very much a struggle and a fight. And by like 8 a.m., I'd be in tears and then I'd be going to work. Like it was very long days and I was just kind of keeping it together. And then COVID hit and it felt like that horizontal marathon got flipped on its side and it was vertical and everything all at once. And I just couldn't keep up. And so I struggled for a few months, but then I realized and I thank COVID for showing me that like you can't change everything. You can't, when I grew up, the idea was you change your outside world. And sometimes I wondered if that's why we move so much and you have a fresh start and a fresh perspective. But it was never the lesson that you take yourself with you. And it was kind of in those moments that I realized, okay, I can't, I can't control COVID. I can't control the world outside. I can't seem to manage my schedule. I know there are happy people in the world. I know there are people that live well. So there must be something I'm missing. And let's start with me. I had a lot of negative self-talk. I had a lot of, I couldn't even look myself in the mirror and say nice things. So there was all this that kind of started me down the personal development work. And then I heard somebody talking about meditating. And so then I started meditating daily. And I remember the first time I did it, I set a timer for 1 minute and it was excruciating, like just sitting with my thoughts. And then, it built up and I was doing 20 minutes every day and it was amazing. And then my hands started to heat up and I look up what that meant. And it meant an energy healer. So then I looked into training to be an energy healer. So it was kind of building up the strength to be able to face my own emotions and things kind of I hadn't dealt with in a while, let those bubble up, and then just being open to like the curiosity, being curious and going, oh, what's this? And then what's this? And the next thing led to the next thing.
Okay. Well, again, similar story. I actually had one of my little, one of them, that moment of redirect,
Yes.
the cosmic redirect. I call it my cosmic 2x4 moment, because
Oh, there you go.
the feather duster approaches, they've been, coming through and off
They
and on
tried.
here and there. And yeah, no, I was not hearing them and not listening. Therefore, it's like, okay, we tried the easy way, girl, but that was the breast cancer diagnosis that I had in
Oh my
2002. My kids were
Wow.
5 and 7. And
Oh
so,
no.
yeah, went through that whole medical, the medical track with the chemo and the surgery and the radiation, and then the subsequent, how can I use anything alternative to heal from the cure? And
Yeah.
one of that was my feng shui journey, a book.
Wow.
Yeah, one of my girlfriends gave me a book on it, and it was the Western version, which was very simplified. It's fine. It works fine unless you have a south-facing home, in which case everything that you're doing is the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing, which I had a south-facing house, and I learned the hard way what happens when you don't pay attention to those kind of details, but I want to stay more focused on your experience because this is about highlighting you. Um, the So one of the things that I looked in here, the questions that you had answered earlier. You said you were working in the wine industry before you really, I guess that was what stopped before you moved into the energy healing thanks to COVID. Would that be fair or?
Yes, well, yes. Um, Wine for me, well, my family are winemakers in Germany, so I took
Oh,
time off during college from my biotech degree to go live in Germany and bring my German up to speed so it was proficient and get to know my family and work. And like I said, they're winemakers, so I worked in the wine industry or in their winery, my aunt and uncle's winery, and I love the pace of life. It was really connected to the agricultural cycle and this like honoring of the seasons, and there was really hard work, but there was also honoring rest, there was honoring celebrations, and I hadn't had that wonderful rhythm and values and kind of acknowledging of what is and appreciating there. They had such great things, they all worked really hard, but there was this wonderful balance, and I thought, well, that's just fantastic, that's what I want for my life. And they didn't need anybody, so I couldn't stay there forever. I went back, finished college, and then I worked for a while at universities, and I was always kind of doing wine jobs on the side just because I find, again, it's this beautiful, for me, wine is that one of those magical moments where it's a specific year, the grapes were grown by a specific person in a specific location, and then the wine was produced by somebody in like all these factors had to come together to make that moment. And that when
mhm.
you open it also changes the moment and what you eat it with. So it just feels like magic every time there's a glass of wine with dinner, because like how many things had to come together. It gave me such appreciation for the universe. So that was this I art meets science, that kind of balance that I liked. So yeah, I followed that. I came out to California a while ago in hopes of being a winemaker, and I ended up working all facets of the wine industry just to keep going and keep learning. I loved learning about it and finding that magic. But I think it's fun, this kind of work, and acknowledging the energy and the spiritual and the energy and the physical is also kind of that balance, whether it's the feminine and masculine energy or the thinking and or the being and the doing. There's also this magic that comes together when you can integrate.
Have you considered talking to the wineries around you about doing space clearing to improve their harvests?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I
Gonna write
think
that down.
there's a way to take notes. I think that would be a really magical experimentation. So you said your family in Germany do they still have the winery there?
Yes, it's gone down to the next generation. So my cousins are have wineries.
Okay. Okay. Well, start with them.
Ah, okay.
I mean, why not? You've got a built-in family. That's what I've always done is when I'm learning a new technique or expanding my knowledge, I
Yeah.
experiment on myself in my own house first.
Yes.
And that was actually, why I transferred to working or to doing the classical style of feng shui because of the directions, because I needed to expand my knowledge. As I mentioned, I had a south facing house and I painted my front door a water element. South is a fire element. I created all this
Ah.
steam, all of this conflict, all of this mess.
Wow.
And every member of my family had varying challenges, including myself. And so it was like, ooh. And when I painted the door red to correspond with that south facing element, I mean, to a person, everybody's lives began moving forward in a positive direction. And it was rather instantaneous. And so that was shocking to me.
It's amazing. And I love, like, from an energy level, color has frequency, and so you're matching the
Mhm.
frequency. There's so I yeah, I love learning more about the universe and the world we live in and how many different ways we've come up to describe then the same things, and sometimes you just need to hear it that different way for it to make sense for you.
And that's why I love like connecting with someone like you, because yes, we both are doing space clearing. I tend to use essential oils with a base of Epsom salts and I have an 91% rubbing alcohol to have a fire cleanse. And I have about 180 different oils that I've collected throughout the years.
My goodness.
And I will energy test to see what is necessary to clear that space, of whatever energies are there. And sometimes it's the land underneath that is what needs the majority of that
Sorry,
stuff.
you build a fire as opposed to, or
I
you
do. I
sprinkle
have
it?
I take a little square of aluminum foil, and so it ends up being about maybe 2-3 inches in diameter. So it's not real big. I have a copper incense burner that I got from India. Well, from Amazon, and they got it from India. um, and then, yeah, so I have just like a little bit of the Epsom salts, just enough of the alcohol to moisten the Epsom salts, and then I add the essential oils on top, and then I set it on fire. And that way the flame is not real big, but it is pulling all of that excess energy into the
Wow.
salt and into the fire that is transmuting it. And then the frequency of whatever is there, you talk about colors having frequency. Well, the essential oils also have a frequency. They have an emotional component. So at the end of my sessions, every client gets a spreadsheet, because I've got this double Virgo in me, but I also have this Aquarius in here, and this moon, and so I'm a very logic. I was trapped in my left brain for so long. I can't do without the spreadsheets. It just feels wrong. But that way they see what the more dense emotions were, what the elevated emotions are, and everybody then has the an affirmation for each of the oils used in that space. So they don't have to go and buy a whole all these oils. They have the affirmations that they can then meditate on, like you said earlier that you were doing.
Yeah.
And it's made a big difference for my clients.
I'm sorry, I'm curious. Do you read the oils as in like when you can tell what is needed there, you know which oils correspond to which emotions, or is it more
I,
intuitive what the emotions are
it's
that lead you
more
to the oils?
it's a more intuitive.
Okay.
I will do energy testing. So I've learned how to energy test with just 2 fingers. So for those who are listening and not watching the video, I have 2 fingers. Like I've got my middle finger is the control, and then my index finger is the test. And I take the middle finger on top of my index finger, and I'll push down. And if it's a yes, it'll stay strong. If it's a no, it'll go weak. And
Wow.
so I've been doing that. I learned that actually back in 2000. I think it was 2008, or maybe it was the next year. But it was something that just has really served me well.
Yeah.
um,
Have you ever done a sway test?
I have done sway testing. Yes. It is really hard to do that though with 180 oils.
Fair enough.
So that's why I needed to come up with something else. Like when I'm picking
Yeah.
supplements, I'll use the sway test.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing I've never really done well with are pendulums. Do you work with pendulums?
I don't. I've purchased a pendulum. I've read about them. I get very excited when I read about all the geothermal lines and being able to so easily track and follow them, but I haven't nope.
Yeah. So my first exposure to energy work, period, was when I was probably 5. My dad was a water witcher. And
Wow.
so he would get hired by other local farmers when they were needing to dig a new irrigation well. And he had these
That's
copper L rods that he would go out and, uh, and I was with him one day and he gave them to me. And so I started walking kind of, as seriously as a 5-year-old holding these magical things that you see your father, doing all the time. And all of a sudden, they crossed in front of me, and this jolt of energy shot through my body, like from my feet out through my head.
Wow.
And it scared the living
Well,
bejeebies out of me. And so I'm like, whoa, and I'm flinging them around. And my dad grabbed them from me and was like, you don't play with these. These are not to play with. And it's like, but he wouldn't let me explain because I had no words for what just happened.
right.
Um,
Yes.
but I think that was my first inkling that, oh, I might be sensitive to energy.
Yeah, that's wonderful that you remember that, the intensity. I think sometimes when we work with the unseen, people always rationalize it and think of things that, oh, that couldn't be, or that's a coincidence, or whatever it is. But when you have that sensation that's so visceral and so real, you're like, well, I could talk myself out of it, but I can't deny what I felt.
Well, for me, I think again, because that it was so powerful, but also just one of the things that because I have this extremely strong left brain that wants concrete examples, when I began learning more about energy and working with it, my body chose a very particular physical response. I
Mhm.
burp when I process energy, and sometimes,
That's fantastic. I once had a Reiki healing with a woman who processed energy the same way. Yeah.
yeah, and so there's really no denying that something is happening when you're over here sounding like a sailor that just ate a whole bunch of cabbage or drank a lot of carbonated beverages.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's
Oh,
fantastic.
so how does I mean, when you were growing up and you were exploring varying things, I mean, was curiosity something that was encouraged, or is that just something that you claimed?
It's something I claimed. I remember it was not encouraged, and in 7th grade, we had moved again, so that was my first year in that area, and we had moved from the North to the South in the United States, so I had one teacher who called me a damn Yankee the whole year, so my accent was
Oh my
wrong.
gosh, I should not have been taking a drink at that
Oh,
time.
sorry. It was not
No, I
not
almost
positive, and she gave me an
no,
award
it's
at the
not
end of the year
positive.
that was most inquisitive, and she was like, "I made this up for you, and it's not a compliment. Here you go." 'Cause I couldn't help it. I always and now I have children, and my daughter's quite similar. You ask lots of questions because that's how you learn, and you're like, "Well, what about this, and what about that?" And what so absolutely love curiosity, and I think that's why I really enjoyed science so much because they're just science tries to explain the world, and so you can go here and see the magic of, the angles at which water freezes, and then there's so many little details that fit together, and it's never ending because the universe is never ending, and there's always room for more questions and more perspectives and more thought. So I absolutely love curiosity, but no, I know I grew up in a time where it was like, be quiet, do as you're told, and don't ask questions.
Curiosity was definitely, I mean, there were certain areas where curiosity was encouraged, but talking about subjects like religion or questioning, well, why do we do these things? I grew up Catholic, and it's
Mhm,
like, well, why can't women be priests? Well,
mhm.
why do only the women have to clean the church and do the laundry? Well, why? Why does it say this? And that was not encouraged.
Mhm.
Um, I was pretty much ignored though for the rest of things. I was the eighth of the out of the eight of us.
Oh, there you go, I was the first.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
got all the
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. No, my parents were exhausted. They were just getting going with you.
My husband is the 11th of 13, so
Wow.
he has a similar perspective. He goes and does stuff, and I was like, "I don't have that innate freedom." That was not the work ethic was beat into me, not the, like, "We don't have time, go do what you want."
It is interesting.
It's
The
a
whole
different
birth order thing.
paradigm to start
Yeah.
with.
Well, um, so one of the things that I also am curious about is so you said you have your children here, that you have children. You have how many do you have?
2.
Two. Okay. So then it sounds like you are really actively working on instilling curiosity and giving them the wings that you didn't necessarily. have.
It's very interesting you point that out. I had that thought this morning pop in my head. Um, Yes, I don't know that I'm working very hard on communication with others, communication with myself, learning my emotions. That's not something I was taught. We were taught to just be quiet and to ignore everything. And I have absolutely worked really hard with my children to one, acknowledge everything, because I think that's part of energy too. Things you feel things happen, whether the grown-ups say it or don't, you know it as a kid. But then if there's no acknowledgement, it's kind of you have this mind game of like, was that real? How do I process it if there's no acknowledgement? So I make sure and check in with them daily and acknowledge everything that's happened and just be aware of the energy or be aware of feelings and that emotions are here to help guide us and not to restrict us and to confuse us, that there's language there for them to use and there's space for them to process, and I'm available for questions. So I will answer anything honestly at any time because I know that's how I learn, and that the world is confusing enough. They don't need everything, but if they take the time to ask the question, then there's some momentum there.
Mm-hmm. How old are they?
9 and 11.
Oh God, those are such great ages.
Oof. Yes, they're hilarious now, which is a lot of fun. They've just gotten into sports, so we're getting into athletics and wanting to do more active stuff as a family. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's wonderful. It also becomes very time consuming.
Ooh, yes, I'm exhausted. Yes.
One of the things that I really wished I would have had more exposure to growing up was understanding that our bodies hold onto emotions, and not
Yes.
necessarily just our emotions, but the emotions of other people around us. How are you doing connecting them with that concept? Or is that something that you've really even addressed yet? Or is that something that you are wanting to look into?
Well, no, I think like everything is a bit of an evolution. Like I address it now at some level, but I have no doubt as the social pressures get more complex and then the problems get more complex, there will be more reason. But I often, especially with my daughters, the older one, will say, like, use myself as an example. Like, this is what I did and it did not end well. Let's learn from me. Like, please don't repress that and hold on to it. Let's make space and talk about it or figure it out or just allow it to be. No, I definitely there's a lot of times where, like, since my daughter especially asks a lot of questions, they both do that, giving context, so kind of showing generational trauma comes up or things that were how generations change. If I do something and it's questioned, one, there's room for questions in our family, but two, saying, hey, here's how I grew up. I'm doing better. You will do better. Let's look at this evolution. But I'm still trying to teach you something and have some value in those lessons. Yes, holding on to the energy. And I think doing this energy work in spaces too, and learning kind of we are what we tolerate. So not allowing that lower vibration to be okay, like acknowledging that it's not okay and then addressing it and finding small ways to change and lift up, and what a positive impact that can have.
I love that phrase. We are what we tolerate.
Yes.
That I wish more people would understand that. Just because something is, normal in air quotes, doesn't mean that it's right. Does what we become numb to.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons why I love being able to go into people's homes and ask them, so let's talk about this pile over here. And most
you
of the
might
time
have gotten
like,
used to it, but that's probably not how it was.
Yeah, it's like
what feels
what
good.
pile? And actually, I like to use the idea that piles of is really it's not a problem. It's how long the stagnation, how long it's been there. And if there's been a pile that has been there for a long time, I encourage people to flip it upside down so they can work on whatever is on the bottom that they've been avoiding.
Yes. That's exactly it. It's that emotional attachment. Or for me, it comes up a lot of times a thing like maybe you inherited something and you feel guilty giving it away, but it's not happy for you, but you could find a new home for it, like addressing those emotions that are tied to the thing.
100%, 100%. And, so my half of my dad's side of the family is all German.
Oh, there you
My
go.
mom's side of the family is Czech. I mean, they were, we've done the genealogy, and they're actually, not separated by a whole big amount of space. But there is that, like you said, that inherited trauma.
Mhm.
Their inherited strengths too.
Oh,
Um,
definitely. 100%.
yeah, but do you see that coming up in the work that you're doing as well with with the homes that people are living in? Or is that more with the objects that they're surrounding themselves with?
That's an excellent question. I think the work that comes up for me is usually in support of my clients' personal development. It's not often that it does have to do with generational trauma. And if it does, like part of my training was also mediumship.
Mhm.
So I've had sessions where like a loved one from the other side steps in for the clearing, and that presence kind of acknowledges the work without directly uh, guiding it, so to speak, that personal development work that my client's been doing. So it's about making that home supportive and what changes can be done at the individual level. There's less, it doesn't come up a lot right now, the generational, unless it's like a thing, like you said, an object.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about the book, the Make Ease Your Vibe book. I saw that on your website.
Thank you.
Talk to me about the motivation behind writing that. And
Eh,
do you use that in your work, like with your clients? Is that like almost like a workbook, or tell me more about it?
It does, it is written, there are exercises in each chapter. So it's a bit like a workbook, but it's more kind of that next step, the personal development side. So there are mindset, energy, and time strategies um, within it that I learned. So that happened, that was from probably the first 3 years of my personal development work, all the things I learned to kind of shift and be happy with the life I lead. I would say that from the outside, my life didn't change at all, but from the inside, it's a 180. Everything's completely different. I feel completely different. And that then led me to the energy work. So it was what I learned before. But when I learned all of those tools, I just couldn't not tell as many people as I could. I was like, I got to write this down because what? How did I not know that? There's such simple little things to start shifting, like changing, like I used to use the word should all the time. I should do this, I should do that, I should do that. So flipping, doing a should challenge, having an accountability partner to call you out on that word should, and then actively stopping and changing your sentence to could. I could do this, I could do that is such a shift in energy and approach and mindset. And where are these little tools that can help us? For me, also, my relationship with time. I mentioned before COVID, I always felt like I was fighting time and I never had enough time and I didn't have enough time for me or my dreams or anything, let alone try to get through the day. And so shifting that to I have more than enough time and I've now enjoy getting things done and I get more things done. How is that possible, that relationship with time? The book actually taught me that itself. I was had it in my head that I had to, go to Bali for 6 weeks and sit by myself and not talk to anybody to write a book. And so I'd put it off for a long time. And then I was like, well, that's not really realistic in the world I live in. Let's see what I can do. I'll set a timer of 15 minutes every day after dinner, commit, and just write. And within 6 weeks, I had the first draft done. So it was just
Wow.
this it taught me that leave that door to curiosity open, leave that door to possibility open of what I think we're conditioned so much by going to school and then having jobs that are hourly, that your value is the time that you sit in the chair, not what you're doing or the
Mm.
product or the work you're doing. So to slowly flip that script and go, okay, I'm putting the value on my experience and how I feel, or I'm putting the value on what I produce. It doesn't matter the time. I can do it in 10 minutes. I can do it in 2 hours. What's that old adage when you get married? They always say, you can plan a wedding in a year, or you can plan a wedding in 6 months or 3 months, however much time you give yourself, that's how much time it'll take. like same kind of idea. We forget that I like to say time is squishy. It's a human construct. So where your relationship with it, that can be really fun to play with and really change your perspective on everything and help raise that frequency so ease can be part of your daily routine and not something you aspire to on vacation once in a while.
Yes. I love that. You're right. People will they will take as much time as you give them, or that you give yourself to accomplish a
Yeah.
task. I really like that though. 15 minutes a day, and you had your first draft done in 6 weeks. I can do that.
Oh, you can totally good list. If I could do it. And kids are running around with balls in the back. Like you just set your little space and say, okay, I'm just going to do what I can do. Like not the heaviness of expectation is really hard. So if you give that away and say, okay, I'm just going to pour out my words, what I've got, and worry about the rest later. And then there was the editing phase and the designing phase and all that. That was fun too. It took a few years before it was actually in my hands. Um, and there was resistance, I had to work through all that good stuff too. But it happens and it's so much fun.
I have had a book in me for a long time. I've
I
tried
can
sitting
only
down to.
imagine. You have great stories and such knowledge.
Oh, I mean, so many stories. And again, I've been doing this now for over 20 years. There's so many stories. Um, and some of them are just, I still don't even believe that like, did that really just happen? Um, but yeah, that is something I will have to try that.
You should.
Thanks, a great inspiration. Thank you, K. Margaret. I appreciate that.
Gladly. I can't wait to read your
Yeah.
book.
I'm excited to read your book because you did the right thing. I think my biggest challenge at this point is there have been so many things that have changed in my life between now and when I first started
Mm,
all of this. I don't know if I can really remember who she was. I kind of do, but one of the things that I've noticed is as I've done more personal development work, there's a type of amnesia that sets in because once you make that shift and you move into a new state of being, you don't even know what on. Sometimes you're just like, well, unless you've written things down and you have journals of who you were before, it's like, well, no, I've always been this person. I found some letters that I had written to my when my mom passed. I got some, little cards, that my sister was very nice because my mom saved everything.
mm.
Depression era parents are wonderful places for finding artifacts of, of
Everything.
time behind. But I read a letter that I had written her when my children were really little, and I two things really stuck out. How incredibly challenged I was at doing all these different things. It's like I was trying to make everything perfect for them.
Mhm.
And I was talking about what I was going to be doing for their birthdays and what I was doing for their play dates and what I was doing for um, some of their other activities. Their after school, they weren't even in school yet. So I was having to create all these different things. And I just remember being completely exhausted at the end of reading that letter.
At the end of reading it.
Just after reading it, and I wasn't even, and I'm not even living it. And so I think that was, but that was a very good trip down memory lane because the comparison trap,
Mm,
uh, that is such a real thing, I think, for any mom, but especially one whose worth is being defined as what are you doing
doing
rather than
100%.
who are you being.
Yes. Oh, I was in that trap too. And one thing that really changed for me through the personal development work was seeing my children as their own spirits, as their own selves, as their own souls. Because I felt this charge when I became a mother that it was up to me to keep them alive and make them happy and get them to 18. End of story. So I was like constantly worried about them and exactly what you said. Oh my God, did I give them the right food? Did I give them the right this so they have the right opportunities. Like they don't make it to 18 happy and healthy, it's all on me. It was not a good way to lead. And then when I realized we're all here on our own journey, we all have our own lessons. We come in with, you know, goals and things to do, and we pick the parents that we come into this life with. Like there are all these factors into play, and I was like, oh, I just get to be a really cool mentor and supporter of these great beings that came in. Done. So then, like, it makes so many decisions now. You know, you don't sweat the small stuff because you're like, well, yeah, I'd do better about that tomorrow. But at the end of the day, you know, like you said, addressing their questions and their curiosity, or acknowledging that they get to lead in some places, or not just sheltering them from everything, but fostering. And yeah, it's wonderful.
It's I love that concept of just being the really cool mentor.
Yeah, even when they're little. I mean, I know obviously we got to clothe them and feed them and keep them safe, and there's all that. But still, I felt when I was young that my spirit, who I was, didn't count, didn't matter. That was not a value in the equation. It was my role and my function, like you said, the doing. That's where the value was. So to have the opportunity to go, nope, I see that you really love to dance, or I see that you really love this. So even though I have no idea how to do that, we're going to figure it out and we're going to go try it. You know, like getting to just support and see and not take away some of that pressure.
Yeah, that's such a much better way of addressing parenthood. It took me a little longer to start to get to that, but yeah, that I had a hard time relaxing into
Well, it's such an
several
important
aspects
job.
of it.
It's
Yeah.
hard.
But you know what, though? I had the most lovely card that my daughter gave me. Actually, it wasn't even a card. I mean, she's a very articulate writer. She just turned 29 today
Yay.
on the day of our recording.
Ah, happy birthday to her.
Yeah. But she actually told me just how much she appreciates how I make her and her friends feel. And I'm like,
Nothing better.
oh, I know. I mean, it's because it is really, at the end of the day, that's the legacy that we leave behind. How did we make others feel in our presence?
I've actually been working on this, and I've come up with 3 words for me. I want seen, supported, and inspired. That's how I would like to help others. And I agree. It's how you feel at the end. That's the impact that's lasting, that's valuable, that's forward giving, that's all these things. And often I've also learned recently, when you find what it is, how you can serve humanity, it's often also the gift that you're looking to receive. But if you make it a thing and you provide that service, it is then a thing that can be gifted back.
Speaking of gifts, obviously you have this gift of helping people to clear their space, to help get their energy in alignment. How can people reach you in case they are interested in hiring you?
Well, thank you so much. The easiest place is to go to my website, which you mentioned, deliciousease.com. The email is support@deliciousease.com. I'd love to hear. And we're doing a podcast swap. I'm excited to have you as a guest on my podcast, Intuitive Wisdom, so they can find me there as well.
Wonderful. Well, yes, the podcast, I listened to a couple of the episodes, and
thank you.
You have some fabulous guests. I know we've actually gone a little longer than what yours usually go, but it's because I've had so much fun chatting.
I could keep talking to you. Yes. Thank you very much.
Well, fantastic. Well, I will go ahead and have all of that contact information in the show notes. And so this will be a wonderful addition to, I think, everybody's world to know that there is a way to make life be filled with more ease.
Amen.
Than with the stress that, we've got enough stress out there. We don't need to be bringing it into our homes. That our home is our sanctuary.
Amen. I believe that too.
All right. Well, thank you so much for everybody who's tuning in, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the other side.